Kael'thas's shot landed 0.003 millimeters from absolute perfect center at 3,000 meters, and the human in lane 7 was laughing while eating a sandwich. "Impossible," Vexia whispered, her 3 eyes fixed on the holographic display. "That shot took him 6 hours of environmental calculation. 6 hours, and she's eating." Competition official Zara's mandibles clicked rapidly, the Zetherian equivalent of a nervous breakdown. "The human shouldn't even be here. Charlotte Brown, registered as firefighter off-duty. What does extinguishing combustion have to do with precision marksmanship?" "Everything, apparently," Vexia muttered, watching Charlotte take another bite of something the human had called a turkey club, while Kael'thas's achievement flashed across every screen in the arena. The Galactic Precision Competition Finals. 500 star systems worth of military contracts hung on this moment. 17 species warfare doctrines. The championship that determined which race's marksmen would train the galaxy's elite forces for the next decade. And Kael'thas, 47-time consecutive champion, the Kronar whose neural implants could calculate trajectory to the subatomic level, had just executed what the judges called the most perfect shot in competition history. The arena erupted in controlled, respectful applause. Military commanders from across known space leaned forward in their observation boxes, their various appendages poised over contract data pads. Charlotte Brown wiped her mouth with a napkin and squinted at the display board. "Huh," she said to no one in particular. 6 hours for that?" The Vezian military observer in Box 12 froze mid-signature. The Kronar High Command delegation stopped their victory preparations. In the judge's booth, Vexia felt her primary heart skip a beat. Did the human just... She dismissed it, Zara breathed. She dismissed a 0.003 millimeter deviation as if... According to YouTube analytics, 99.6% of viewers are not subscribed. That's a huge number. By subscribing the channel that is completely free, you'll help support the channel and never miss fresh content. Kael'thas heard her. Of course he heard her. His auditory enhancement caught every frequency within 40 meters. He turned slowly from his lane, his 6'7" frame rigid with the kind of offense that transcended species. "You find fault with precision?" His translator rendered the words with appropriate ice. Charlotte looked up, genuinely surprised someone was talking to her. "Oh no, man, that was a great shot. Really great," she gestured with her sandwich. "Just seems like a lot of prep time for static conditions, you know." Static conditions. Static conditions. Vexia checked her readings again. Kael'thas's shot had accounted for planetary rotation, gravitational flux from 3 nearby moons, atmospheric density at 17 different altitudes, the Coriolis effect, temperature gradients, and the quantum uncertainty of the target's molecular structure. Static conditions. "The human doesn't understand the complexity involved," Jotaro announced from the senior official's platform. The ancient Threxian's voice carried the weight of 3 centuries of competition oversight. "Perhaps we should explain that this isn't what do humans call it, a fun shooting range." "Oh, I get it," Charlotte said, standing and brushing crumbs off her jeans. "Super serious, lots of military bigwigs watching, contracts and stuff," she smiled. "But shooting's still shooting, right? You just gotta feel it. Feel it." Commander R. Hill of the Catharian battle fleet stood abruptly in his observation box. Did she say feel? Marksmanship is mathematics, calculation, precision derived from quantifiable data. "Exactly," Kael'thas said, his voice carrying across the arena, "which is why I trained for 17 years with the finest computational systems in the galaxy, why my neural interface cost more than most planetary defense budgets, why I spent 6 hours ensuring that shot was perfect." He gestured to the still glowing display of his achievement. "This is not about feeling human. This is about science." Charlotte shrugged. "Sure, but science is great until the wind does that swirly thing, and your calculations are for 6 hours ago, not right now." The arena went silent. "What?" Vexia said slowly. "Swirly thing?" Charlotte pointed downrange with her sandwich. "You know, that thing wine does when temperature gradients shift, creates little micro-vortices, happens all the time in urban fire scenarios, makes predicting anything a nightmare." She took another bite. "Your boy did great math, but I bet conditions changed 20 minutes into his prep time." Zara pulled up the environmental data logs, scanned them, re-scanned them. She's correct. Atmospheric conditions shifted 17 times during the preparation window, each shift within acceptable variance, but compounding, Charlotte finished. "Yeah, that's why I never got the whole calculate for 6 hours thing. I mean, respect for the math and all, but—" She trailed off, apparently losing interest in her own point. Kael'thas's ridge crest, the chronar indicator of emotional state, flushed deep purple. "My calculations accounted for environmental flux, predicted models, probability matrices." "Right, but those are predictions," Charlotte interrupted, not rudely, just matter-of-factly. "And predictions are great until reality decides to be weird." She grinned, which, in my experience, is pretty much always. Military commanders were now standing in multiple observation boxes. Vexia noticed contract data pads being set down, notepads being pulled out. "Lane 7, Jitaro's voice cut through the confusion. "You are scheduled to shoot in the final round. Do you require the standard 6-hour preparation window?" Charlotte checked her watch. "Nah, I'm good. Can I just shoot now? I've got a transport to catch in 4 hours." The silence that followed wasn't respectful anymore. It was the kind of silence that preceded paradigm shifts. "You want to shoot," Kael'thas said, slowly, "without preparation? Without environmental analysis? Without—" "Dude, I've been watching the range for 20 minutes while you guys did your thing." Charlotte walked toward lane 7, stretching her shoulders. "Wind's been consistent. Gravity's obviously stable and the target's not moving. This is like medium difficulty, maybe medium easy." Medium difficulty. The shot that took the galaxy's greatest marksman 6 hours and was being called the most perfect in history was medium difficulty to this human firefighter. "Somebody stop her before she embarrasses herself," someone muttered from the observation boxes. But nobody moved, because every military mind in that arena was suddenly, urgently, terrifyingly curious about what happened when you let a human just shoot. Charlotte picked up her rifle, an ancient-looking thing without a single computational attachment, and stepped up to the firing line. "This should be interesting," she said, not to anyone in particular. Vexia's 3 hearts were all racing now. She had a feeling interesting was about to become the understatement of the galactic cycle. Charlotte's rifle looked like it belonged in a museum. No neural interface, no quantum targeting computer, no gravitational compensation matrix, just metal, wood, and glass, the kind of primitive assembly that most species had abandoned 3,000 years ago. "That's her weapon?" Commander Arhill's voice crackled over the observation channel. "That's not a precision instrument. That's a historical artifact." Zara was frantically checking the regulations database. Technically, all weapons that meet the basic safety and caliber requirements are, oh, creators preserve us, are legal for competition use. "She can't be serious," Kael'thas said, his ridge crest now oscillating between purple and crimson. "That device doesn't even have environmental sensors." Charlotte was running her hand along the rifle's barrel, the kind of casual gesture someone makes when greeting an old friend. "Nah, but I do," she said cheerfully. "Got 2 eyes, and about 26 years of shooting experience. Works pretty well." "Begin preparation protocol," Jitaro announced, his voice strained. "Lane 7 has a 6-hour window to—" "Wait, seriously?" Charlotte looked genuinely surprised. 6 hours for this shot? "Standard competition requirements demand comprehensive environmental analysis," Vexia explained, trying to keep her voice level. "Atmospheric density, gravitational vectors, molecular drift patterns." "Right," but I've been standing here breathing the air for like half an hour. Charlotte squinted downrange. Humidity's about 60%, temperatures dropping maybe a degree every 20 minutes, and the winds... She paused, tilted her head slightly. Yeah, the wind's being weird, doing that thing I mentioned. What thing? Kyle Thos demanded. The swirly thing. Charlotte made a vague rotating gesture with her free hand. When you get micro-temperature variations creating little vortices, happens in big fires all the time, makes the air move in like unpredictable patterns. She shrugged. Your calculations won't help with that. It's too chaotic. The word chaotic hit the arena like a physical force. Chaos is precisely why we calculate, Jotaro said stiffly. Mathematical modeling allows us to predict. Sure, predict averages. Predict probabilities. Charlotte was settling into her stance now, that rifle looking somehow more dangerous in her casual grip. But that swirly thing, it's not average. It's happening right now, and it'll be different in 5 minutes, and totally different in 6 hours. She looked over her shoulder at the official's booth. So can I just shoot? I really do have a transport to catch. Vexia and Zara exchanged glances. 3 eyes met 4 in a moment of shared, horrified uncertainty. You may proceed, Jotaro said slowly. Charlotte turned back to the range, took a breath, looked downrange for maybe 30 seconds, her eyes tracking something none of the sensors could quantify. Yeah, okay, she muttered. Between the pulses. Got it. She fired. The shot happened so fast that half the arena's recording systems nearly missed it. No preparation sequence, no calculation verification, no computational confirmation. Just a human woman with an ancient rifle making a decision in the span of a heartbeat. The target analysis appeared on the display. 0.02 millimeters from perfect center, closer than Kael'thas, closer than the 47-time champion's mathematically perfect shot. The arena exploded into chaos. Impossible! Kael'thas roared, his translator barely keeping up with the volume. My shot was perfect, verified by 17 independent calculation systems. How... Perfect for 6 hours ago, maybe, Charlotte said, already walking back toward her sandwich. Conditions change, dude. They always do. Conditions changed. Vexia was pulling up every sensor log, every data point, every measurement taken during both shots. Conditions changed by what amount? What variance could possibly... She stopped, stared at her screen. Oh no! What? Zara leaned over, scanning the data. Oh no! Oh no! Every single environmental factor had shifted. Temperature down 0.7 degrees, humidity up 3%. Gravitational flux altered by 0.004%. Wind patterns disrupted by the micro-vortices Charlotte had mentioned. Patterns too small and chaotic for their prediction models to capture effectively. Individually, meaningless variances. Collectively, enough to shift the perfect target location by 0.001 millimeters. Exactly the difference between Kael'thas's shot and Charlotte's. She adjusted for real-time conditions, Zara whispered, in 30 seconds, without computers. She just looked and knew. Commander Arhill was already on his communicator, his voice urgent. Get me high command. Now. Yes, it's an emergency. The humans don't calculate their shots. I don't know what they do, but we need to understand it before... Charlotte had found her sandwich and taken another bite. She was chewing contentedly, apparently unaware that she'd just shattered several thousand years of marksmanship doctrine. Excuse me, she called out. Is there a bathroom around here? That's a lot of turkey. Nobody answered. They were all staring at the displays, at the data, at the impossible reality of what had just occurred. Kael'thas approached her slowly, his massive frame somehow diminished. Explain, please. My shot was calculated using quantum probability matrices, neural implants processing 17,000 variables. How did I... What? Charlotte asked through a mouthful of sandwich. Beat it. With that. He gestured at her rifle with something approaching horror. Charlotte swallowed, considered the question. Okay, so you know how, when you're in a burning building, and the fire's moving, and the structure's weakening, and smoke's changing density, and you've got maybe 3 seconds to decide which way to go. Kael'thas's ridge crest paled. That sounds extremely dangerous. Yeah, super dangerous. Can't calculate your way through it, though. Fire doesn't wait for math. She smiled. You just gotta feel where things are going. Trust your gut. Move. Trust your gut, someone repeated from the observation box's voice strangled. Yeah, or, trust your training and experience and pattern recognition and all that other stuff that happens when you do something enough times that your brain shortcuts the math. Charlotte shrugged. Same thing with shooting. You practice enough, you stop thinking about the calculations. You just know. She finished her sandwich. So, about that bathroom? In Observation Box 7, 3 separate military delegations were rewriting their training protocols. In Observation Box 12, the Vezian contract representative was frantically messaging his superiors, "Do not sign Kronar contract, urgent. Humans have capability we don't understand." And in Lane 1, Kael'thas stood frozen, staring at his own hands enhanced with millions of credits worth of computational augmentation. Hands that suddenly felt impossibly crude compared to a human firefighter eating a sandwich. "Round 2 in 15 minutes, Jotaro announced, his voice hollow. "Extreme distance, 10,000 meters, gravitational interference from 3 planetary bodies." Charlotte perked up. Oh, cool. That sounds fun. Fun. Vexia's 3 hearts were all trying to exit through different arteries. This was going to get so much worse. Round 2 made the first round look like a children's game. 10,000 meters, 3 planetary bodies creating gravitational interference patterns that shifted every 4.7 seconds. Atmospheric layers with 7 different density gradients. And a target that, according to the display, required accounting for relativistic effects, because the shot would take long enough that planetary rotation became a factor. Kael'thas requested the full 14-hour preparation window. Nobody questioned it. This shot, Jotaro explained to the increasingly crowded observation boxes, is considered theoretically impossible by most species standards. Only the Kronar, with their neural computational enhancement, have ever successfully— Excuse me, Charlotte raised her hand like she was in a classroom. Quick question, do I have to wait the full 14 hours, or can I shoot whenever? The arena went so quiet you could hear the gravitational sensors humming. Vexia couldn't finish the sentence. Her translator actually gave up halfway through. Lane 7, Jotaro said, his ancient voice cracking slightly. This is not a scenario where intuition or feeling will suffice. This shot requires precise mathematical modeling of 3-body gravitational dynamics, relativistic compensations, and— Yeah, but I can see the target, Charlotte said reasonably. It's right there. It is 10,000 meters away through multiple atmospheric interference layers while being affected by 3 gravitational fields simultaneously. Commander R. Hill was standing now, all 4 of his arms gesturing wildly. You cannot simply look at it. Charlotte squinted downrange. I mean, it's fuzzy, but I can see it. The human visual system cannot— Rahil stopped. Checked something on his datapad, checked it again. Wait, human visual processing. I need— someone get me the biological database on human neural architecture. But nobody was listening because Kael'thas had entered the preparation chamber, a sealed room filled with quantum computing arrays that would spend the next 14 hours calculating the single most complex shot in competitive history. Through the observation window they could see him interfacing with the systems, his neural implants glowing with the strain of processing power. He's accounting for everything, Zara whispered, almost reverent. Gravitational lensing from the 3 bodies, atmospheric refraction at 17 different altitudes, The Coriolis effect from planetary rotation, quantum uncertainty in the projectile's trajectory, even, creators, even solar wind pressure from the local star. The calculations scrolled across the displays, pages of mathematics, quantum probability fields, gravitational tensor equations that most species hadn't even discovered yet. 14 hours later, Kael'thas emerged. His ridge crest was pale, drained. Neural enhancement burned significant calories, and this had pushed him to his absolute limits. "The shot is calculated," he announced. "Probability of success, 73.4%. This is the highest certainty achievable given quantum uncertainty principles." He took his position. The rifle, far more advanced than Charlotte's, bristling with computational attachments, hummed with power. He fired. The projectile's journey took 4.3 seconds. Every sensor in the arena tracked it as it curved through gravitational fields, bent through atmospheric layers, compensated for planetary rotation. It struck the target. 0.08 millimeters from perfect center. The arena erupted. This wasn't just perfect. This was beyond what physics models suggested was possible. Kael'thas had just executed a shot that would be studied for generations. "That," Kael'thas gasped, his translator conveying exhaustion and triumph, "is chronar precision. That is what 14 hours of computational analysis achieves. That is—" "Oh, this is like shooting in mountain wind back home," Charlotte said, studying the range with interest. "You get those weird gravity things from altitude changes, makes everything sideways." She picked up her rifle. "Lane 7, you cannot—" Jotaro began. Charlotte was already in position, looking downrange with that same casual focus she'd shown before. 30 seconds. 60. 90. Okay, so the gravity's pulling left from the big one, right from the two smaller ones, but they're cycling, so there's that pulse thing happening. She was talking to herself now, working through something. And the air's doing layers, but that's just normal altitude stuff. And the spin is, yeah, okay, that's like leading a moving target, but the target's not moving. The planet is, so you just reverse it. She fired. 4.3 seconds of flight time. 0.006 millimeters from perfect center. Closer than Kael'thas. Again. Commander R. Hill made a sound no translator could process. Vexia's 3 hearts stopped entirely. Zara dropped her datapad and nobody noticed it shatter. Kael'thas just stood there, staring at the display. "No," he said quietly. "No, that's not possible." "Emergency session!" someone shouted from the observation boxes. "Military Council, emergency session, now!" Jotaro descended from his platform, moving faster than his ancient frame should have allowed. "Explain. Human Charlotte Brown, explain immediately how you executed that shot." Charlotte looked confused by the urgency. "I just shot where the target was?" The target was affected by 3 gravitational bodies, 7 atmospheric layers, and planetary rotation. Vexia was pulling up the physics models, comparing them to Charlotte's shot. "Our models say your shot should have missed by 3 meters. 3 meters? You compensated for factors that... She stopped, stared at her screen. "Your shot accounted for variables we didn't include in our models." "What variables?" Zara demanded. "I don't know." Vexia's voice hit a pitch that shattered the professional composure she'd maintained for 3 decades of competition oversight. "There are compensations in her trajectory that don't match any of our physics models. She adjusted for things our computers didn't even detect." Charlotte scratched her head. "Well, yeah. You calculated what should happen. I shot where the target actually was." "That's the same thing," Kael'thas roared, his composure finally shattering completely. "Physics is physics. Mathematics describes reality. You cannot just feel your way through it," Charlotte offered. "I mean, you can. Computers are great, don't get me wrong, but they can't feel when something's off. Like, I could see the gravitational pull was cycling faster than it should, probably because the two smaller planets are in resonance or something, and the air layers were thicker than normal for this kind of range, which means there's probably weather coming, and— Stop! Jotaro's voice cut through her explanation. You detected gravitational resonance variance, atmospheric density prediction, with your organic sensors? With my eyes, yeah. Charlotte looked at her rifle. And my hands. You can feel the gravity when you're holding the rifle. It pulls different. You can feel gravitational variance of 0.0003%. Commander R. Hill's voice had gone hollow. Can't you? Charlotte asked genuinely. Kael'thas sat down, just sat down right there on the range floor. His ridge crest was white now, the Kronar equivalent of shock. My entire career, he whispered, 17 years of training, millions of credits in neural enhancement, quantum computers that can process 17,000 variables simultaneously. He looked up at Charlotte. And you just looked at it. Charlotte shifted uncomfortably. Look, this is just how we train back home. Real situations aren't clean. Fire doesn't wait for you to run calculations. Collapsed buildings don't care about your math. She gestured at the range. This is actually pretty controlled compared to pulling someone out of a burning apartment while the floor is giving way. In Observation Box 9, the entire Catharian military delegation was rewriting their combat doctrine. In Observation Box 3, the Vezian High Command was initiating an emergency protocol that hadn't been used in 600 years. And on the range floor, Kael'thas, 47-time champion, the greatest precision marksman in known space, was having what humans would call an existential crisis. We've been doing this wrong, he said to nobody in particular. For thousands of years. We've been doing this wrong. Charlotte offered him a protein bar from her bag. Hey man, your math is still really impressive. Like, seriously impressive. It's just different from how we do it, you know? Different. The word echoed through the arena like a death knell for 1,000 years of military doctrine. Vexia looked at Jotaro. Jotaro looked at Zara. Zara looked at the readings that still didn't make sense. And Charlotte Brown, firefighter from Denver, checked her watch and wondered if she'd still make her transport. Round 3 was designed to be impossible. The target moved, not in a predictable pattern that would be calculable. It moved based on simulated combat conditions. Erratic, reactive, responding to virtual threat assessment algorithms, the range environment, shifted every 30 seconds. Gravity fluctuations, atmospheric density changes, electromagnetic interference pulses. It was meant to simulate actual warfare. Minimum preparation time, 8 hours, Jotaro announced, his voice carrying the weight of someone pronouncing a death sentence. This round has never been completed successfully. It exists purely as a theoretical— Wait, Kael'thas interrupted, staring at the simulation parameters. The target velocity variance alone creates a computational impossibility. By the time I calculate the shot, the variables will have changed. Correct, Jotaro said quietly. This round demonstrates why warfare requires preparation, intelligence, and strategic planning. Why battles are won before the first shot is fired. So, it's impossible to hit? Charlotte asked. For a single marksman operating in real time, yes. Charlotte frowned. But isn't that what combat actually is? Real time? The arena went very, very still. Combat, Commander R. Hill said slowly, is the execution of carefully prepared strategies, battle plans calculated and verified before engagement. No species fights without. We do, Charlotte said simply. Kael'thas stepped up to the firing line anyway. His ridge crest was set in determination. If he was going to have an existential crisis, he was going to have it after attempting the impossible. His neural implants flared. Quantum computers spun up. He tracked the moving target, calculating trajectory, predicting movement patterns, accounting for environmental shifts. He fired. The shot missed by 3 meters, his first miss, ever, in 47 championship runs. Kael'thas's rifle clattered to the ground. He didn't pick it up. I can't, he said numbly. The variables change faster than I can process. By the time I verify the calculation, it's already wrong. It's actually impossible. The other two remaining alien competitors, both species with advanced computational abilities, reviewed the parameters, calculated the probability matrices, and withdrew from the competition. Mathematically impossible appeared on their status displays. Charlotte raised her hand again. So, do I still have to shoot, or is this just like a demonstration thing? Every eye, optical sensor, and electromagnetic receptor in the arena focused on her. You believe you can complete this round? Jotaro asked, and there was something in his voice, not hope exactly, but a desperate, terrified need to understand. I mean, probably, Charlotte shrugged. Looks hard, but not impossible hard, just adapt as you go hard. Show us, Commander R. Hill said flatly, show us what humans do. Charlotte took her position. The simulation began, target moving, environment shifting, conditions changing every few seconds. She fired, hit the outer ring. See, first shot's always rough, she muttered, adjusting her stance. Gotta feel out the pattern. She fired again, inner ring, again, closer to center. The shots came steadily, methodically, not fast, maybe one every 5 seconds, but each one was closer than the last. She's not calculating, Vexia whispered, her 3 eyes fixed on the trajectory analysis. There's no pre-shot computation pause. She's adjusting in real time as the environment changes. That's impossible, Zara said reflexively, then stopped herself. No, we need to stop saying that. It's clearly not impossible. We just don't understand how. Charlotte fired 6 more times. The last shot, 0.004 millimeters from center of a target that had moved position 3 times during her shooting sequence. She lowered her rifle, breathing a bit harder. Okay, that was actually pretty fun. Good workout. The arena was silent except for the sound of military doctrines crumbling. How? Keltas asked, still on the ground. How did you track changes faster than quantum computation? I didn't track changes faster, Charlotte said, walking back toward her gear. I just didn't try to track everything. You can't calculate chaos, you can only ride it. Explain. Jotaro was descending to the arena floor now, his ancient frame moving with urgent purpose. Explain exactly what human training entails. Charlotte considered this. Okay, so back home, we have this saying. Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. You know what I mean? Blank stares from 17 different species. Right, so what I mean is, you can prepare all you want, but reality doesn't care about your preparation. Buildings collapse weird, fires spread randomly, people panic unpredictably. She gestured at the range. We train for when everything goes wrong. Because it always does. But without calculation, without planning, Commander R. Hill started. We do plan. We totally plan. But we plan to adapt, not to execute. Charlotte was warming to the topic now. Like, you guys train soldiers to execute perfect plans. We train warriors to adapt when plans fail, because plans always fail. The military observers were leaning forward now, some standing, others activating recording systems. You're saying human military doctrine assumes failure? Vexia asked carefully. Assumes chaos, Charlotte corrected. Fire teaches you that real quick. You can know everything about how fire should behave, but then you get weird air currents, or unexpected fuel sources, or structural weaknesses, and suddenly all your models are useless. She smiled. So you stop relying on models. You learn to read the situation as it is, not as it should be. But that requires... Keltas struggled with the concept. That requires operating without certainty, without verified data. How do you make decisions? Experience, pattern recognition, trusting your training even when you can't explain why something feels right. Charlotte tapped her head. Your brain is way better at parallel processing than you think. You just gotta train it to work without waiting for permission from the math. Jitaro's expression, if his Threxian features could be read, showed something like horror. Your species fights without computational certainty? Well, yeah, combat's too fast for certainty. Charlotte paused. Wait, do you guys only fight when you're certain you'll win? The silence answered her question. Oh, she said quietly. Oh, that's a really different approach. It's the logical approach, R. Hill insisted, but his voice lacked conviction now. Sure, but what happens when you encounter something you can't calculate, something that doesn't follow your models? Charlotte looked around the arena. What do your soldiers do when the plan fails? No one answered. Because they were all realizing the same horrifying truth. Their soldiers didn't know what to do when the plan failed. Because the plan wasn't supposed to fail. Because if you calculated correctly, verified thoroughly, and executed precisely, the plan couldn't fail. Except humans existed, and humans didn't fight that way. Competition concluded, Jitaro announced, his voice hollow. Winner, Charlotte Brown. Earth. Charlotte brightened. Oh, cool. Do I get a trophy or something? You get 500 star systems worth of military training contracts, Vexia said numbly. Oh, Charlotte frowned. I don't actually want to train anybody. I have a job. The fire department needs me for next week's shift. The fire department, Commander R. Hill repeated. Fighting fires is more important to you than reshaping galactic military doctrine? Charlotte looked at him like he was crazy. Well, yeah, people's houses are burning down. That's kind of urgent. She started packing her gear. It's just shooting, she said over her shoulder. You practice enough in bad conditions, you get a feel for it. Honestly, I'm not even that good. My friend Sarah, she shoots in worse conditions for fun, says it keeps her sharp. There are more of them. Every alien in the arena thought simultaneously. Kael'thas was still sitting on the floor, staring at his hands enhanced with millions of credits of neural augmentation that a human firefighter with an old rifle and 26 years of feeling it out had just rendered obsolete. We've been training soldiers, he said quietly. They've been training warriors. And in that moment, the difference was terrifyingly clear. Soldiers executed plans, warriors survived chaos. The Galactic Military Council convened an emergency session before Charlotte had even left the building. All precision-based warfare doctrines are under immediate review, High Commander Zilax announced, his voice transmitted to every military installation across 500 star systems. We have operated under a fundamental misunderstanding of combat dynamics. In Observation Box 12, a Vezian strategist was already rewriting tactical manuals. If the enemy doesn't follow our projections, if they adapt faster than we can recalculate, then we lose, someone finished grimly. We've never fought an adaptive species before. Correction, Commander R. Hill said quietly. We've never fought humans before, and after today, I don't think we want to. Down in the arena, Charlotte was being swarmed by military contractors, all shouting offers and questions simultaneously. Miss Brown, our species would pay substantial amounts for training consultation. If you could just explain your targeting methodology. We need to understand human combat doctrine. Charlotte held up her hands. Guys, I put out fires for a living. This was just for fun, like weekend hobby stuff. The contractors fell silent. This is your hobby? One asked weakly. Yeah. Me and some friends hit the range on Saturdays when we're not working. Charlotte checked her phone. Speaking of which, I really need to catch my transport. Sarah's covering my shift, and she'll kill me if I'm late. But the training contracts? I don't want to train anybody. I'm not a soldier. Charlotte hefted her rifle bag. I'm a firefighter who likes shooting. That's it. Jitaro stepped forward, his ancient voice cutting through the chaos. Miss Brown, could you at least explain Earth's military training philosophy, for the record? Charlotte thought about it. I mean, I'm not military, but from what I know. We train for when everything goes wrong, not when everything goes right. Prepare for the worst, hope for the best, adapt to whatever actually happens. She shrugged. That's pretty much it. That's it, Vexia repeated. That's the philosophy that just dismantled 3,000 years of tactical doctrine? I guess? Charlotte was clearly ready to leave. Look, I really need to… Wait! Kael'thas approached, his ridge crest now a muted gray, the Kronar color of humility. One question. Please. Charlotte paused. How do you know what to do? He asked quietly. Without calculations, without verified data, how do you make the right choice when you can't prove it's right? Charlotte's expression softened. Experience. Intuition. We call it feel. She smiled. You practice until your body knows. Until you've done something so many times in so many different conditions that you don't need to think about it anymore. You just react. But that takes time, lots of time, and chaos, lots of chaos. Charlotte adjusted her bag. Computers can't teach that. Only experience can. Only being in situations where the plan fails and you have to figure it out anyway. Kael'thas absorbed this. We've been training for perfection. And we train for disaster. Charlotte grinned. Turns out disaster is more common. She headed for the exit, waving over her shoulder. Good luck with the whole military doctrine thing. I'm sure you'll figure it out. The arena doors closed behind her. In the observation boxes, military commanders from across known space sat in stunned silence, all thinking the same thing. Humans didn't win because they were stronger or faster or better armed. They won because they thrived in uncertainty. Because when everything went wrong, and it always did, humans didn't freeze up waiting for new calculations. They just kept moving. Charlotte found the gift shop near the spaceport terminal, bought a commemorative mug that said Galactic Precision Championship with a cartoon target on it. Figured her sister would get a kick out of it. Her transport lifted off 20 minutes later. She video called her friend Sarah during the flight. Hey, how'd the competition go? Oh, I won, Charlotte said casually, the mug visible in the background. It was pretty fun. Aliens were super serious about it, though. Like, really serious. Nice, Sarah laughed. Better than last weekend's match? Way better range, crazy distances. They had this round with moving targets that was actually challenging. Ooh, fun. Hey, you back Tuesday? Should be. Want to hit the range? I'm feeling rusty. You just won a galactic championship. Exactly. Clearly, I need more practice. They laughed and talked about normal things. Sarah's new apartment, Charlotte's sister's birthday, whether they should try that new barbecue place, while behind Charlotte, through the transport window, the station grew smaller. The station where, at that very moment, the Galactic Military Council was implementing new protocols. Protocol 447, Study of Human Adaptive Warfare Techniques. Protocol 448, Emergency Restructuring of Combat Training. Protocol 449, Integration of Chaos Training into Standard Military Curriculum. Kael'thas enrolled in Earth's military exchange program that afternoon. 6 other species champions followed suit by evening. Within a week, every major military power had sent observers to Earth, all trying to understand how humans trained warriors instead of soldiers. Within a month, adaptive combat became the most studied military doctrine in the galaxy, and Charlotte Brown, firefighter from Denver, who'd won the most important competition in known space and accidentally revolutionized galactic warfare? She made her Tuesday shift on time, pulled 3 people out of a burning apartment building, hit the range with Sarah on Saturday, and never thought about the competition again, except when she used the mug for coffee and remembered that trip as that fun weekend where the aliens were being super dramatic about shooting. The galaxy changed. Earth didn't notice. And somehow, that was the most terrifying thing of all.